I glance out the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office, the city humming below like a distant orchestra. My silk blouse brushes against my wrist as I lift my coffee cup, strong, black, exactly how I like it. Everything looks calm, polished, perfect. Yet beneath the surface, there's always that quiet hum, the memory of what was taken from me, waiting to be confronted. My phone buzzes. A name flashes on the screen, someone I hadn't wanted to hear from in years. I pause, feeling the familiar tightening in my chest, that old mix of irritation and curiosity. Slowly, I answer. Is this really you? The voice on the other end carries disbelief, maybe even a hint of shame. I sip my coffee, pretending the tremor in my hand isn't there. It's me, I say smoothly, letting the pause stretch just long enough to let them wonder if I've changed, or if I've always been this capable. The office around me tells a story they could never imagine. Sleek furniture, framed prototypes on the wall, the hum of machines from the factory floor below. Every detail whispers triumph, independence, and a quiet kind of revenge. I lean back in my chair, eyes narrowing slightly, the memory of stolen tools flashing behind my lids. They thought taking everything would break me. Funny how life has a way of turning tables when you least expect it. I remember the first time it happened, how clearly the sting of betrayal cut through me. I was 22, fresh out of college, full of ideas, and clutching the tools that had been my lifeline, a laptop loaded with my designs, a box of prototype gadgets I'd spent nights assembling, and a sketchbook where every page was a promise to myself. My father had looked at me with that familiar mix of skepticism and superiority. "This isn't a woman's field, Emily," he had said, his voice low but sharp. "You'll never make it on your own. Give me those tools. You don't need them anyway." My hands shook as I placed them on the table, my chest tight, a lump in my throat threatening to choke me. My younger self wanted to argue, to scream, to tear back what was mine, but I knew resistance would only bring humiliation. They didn't see potential, they saw defiance, a threat to their control. Then my grandmother, a small, indomitable woman with eyes that had seen too much, handed me a simple charm, a tiny bronze gear. "This is for your hands and your heart, Emily," she said. "The tools don't define you. You do. Remember that when they try to take everything." Her words burned in my mind as I walked away that evening, leaving behind the familiar house and the dismissive voices. I didn't look back. I carried the charm in my pocket, feeling its weight, a constant reminder that while they could take my tools, they could never take my drive, my ingenuity, my refusal to be diminished. That night, in the quiet of my cramped studio apartment, I spread out what little I had left and whispered to myself, "I'll build my own world. And I'll do it better than they ever imagined." It was the first decisive step toward independence. The night my tools were taken marked the beginning of everything I would create with my own hands, fueled by resilience, determination, and the memory of every doubt cast in my direction. The first months were brutal. My studio apartment smelled of solder and ink, and my hands were perpetually stained from endless hours of work. Every night, I'd stare at the tiny bronze gear in my pocket, turning it over between my fingers, a reminder that every sleepless night, every setback, was mine to claim. I had no family support, no financial cushion, just the stubborn certainty that I could make something of myself. Then came Daniel, a retired engineer I met at a local maker fair. He looked at my sketches with a mixture of curiosity and respect. "You've got talent, Emily," he said, his voice steady and encouraging. "Most people give up before they even begin. Don't let them take that from you." His mentorship became my lifeline. He taught me to refine designs, to pitch clients confidently, and to trust my instincts even when the world doubted me. The early victories were tiny: a small contract to design custom parts for a local tech startup, a modest paycheck that allowed me to buy better tools. But every success, no matter how small, fueled me. I spent nights testing prototypes, learning new software, negotiating with suppliers who often underestimated me. I learned to navigate the industry quietly, deliberately, keeping my achievements under wraps. My social media posts were modest. My family received vague updates. They didn't need to know. Slowly, I built a team, a small but brilliant group who shared my vision. We worked tirelessly, fueled by ambition and a shared sense of purpose. Every time a client called me back, every time a prototype functioned perfectly, I felt a quiet thrill, a confirmation that I was moving forward, not just surviving but thriving. Financial independence arrived gradually, disguised as long hours and relentless persistence. I moved from my cramped apartment to a loft near the city, a space that doubled as an innovation hub. Machines whirred in the background as I sketched designs and signed contracts, the scent of coffee mingling with solder and paint. The life I was building was private, intentional, and deeply mine. By the time I finally looked up from my work one late evening, I realized something remarkable. The world had no idea what I had accomplished. The tools they took, I'd replaced them, upgraded them, and then multiplied their value 100-fold. Every late night, every setback, every whispered doubt had forged me into someone far stronger than my younger self could have imagined. And in the quiet moments, holding the bronze gear, I smiled to myself. They thought they had taken everything. Little did they know I was just getting started. The day they walked into my factory, I was finishing a meeting with my senior engineers. The sunlight streamed through the large windows, bouncing off polished metal surfaces, highlighting the machines that hummed with precise efficiency. The scent of fresh paint mixed with the subtle aroma of coffee, a testament to long nights and tireless effort. I knew who it was the moment they stepped in. My father, a former colleague who once scoffed at my designs, and a few others who had underestimated me years ago. Their expressions were a mixture of curiosity and smug expectation, the kind that assumes you'll fail before you even try. I motioned to Daniel, who smiled knowingly, and then turned back to face them. "Emily?" my father asked, incredulous. His eyes darted around the room, absorbing the hum of the factory, the racks of prototypes, the employees moving confidently under my direction. "Yes, it's me," I said, my voice calm, steady, but edged with an authority I hadn't yet needed to show them. "Welcome to my world." They froze. The disbelief was tangible. They weren't expecting this. The factory was immaculate yet alive, each machine and workstation a testament to long nights, small victories, and relentless persistence. Framed designs lined the walls. My first successful prototype glimmered on a pedestal, a subtle yet powerful statement. I let them take it in, every flicker of shock and hesitation playing across their faces. My father's jaw tightened. The former colleague looked around, mouth slightly open, perhaps trying to reconcile the confident, composed woman standing before him with the naive, underestimated girl he remembered. I walked slowly toward them, letting my heels click deliberately on the polished floor. "You remember the tools you took from me?" I asked. "The ones you thought would stop me?" Their silence was answer enough. Those tools were never the point. What mattered was the hands that used them, the mind that imagined beyond them. I gestured to the factory. "This is what I built. With my hands, my designs, my team, and my persistence. Every corner of this place, every machine, every process belongs to me. I own it. I've taken the lessons, the pain, the doubts, and turned them into something real. Something you never saw coming." Shock and shame rippled across their faces. My father's voice was barely audible. I didn't realize." "I'm not asking for your recognition," I interrupted gently but firmly. "You'll see results in your own way. For now, know that I am not the same girl you dismissed. I am the woman who owns what you thought you could take from me." For the first time in years, I felt the quiet satisfaction of true power. Not arrogance, not revenge, but justice through creation. The tables had turned, and I was the one setting the terms. Their silence was the proof. They had come expecting weakness. Instead, they faced ownership, authority, and undeniable accomplishment. The weight of authority settled naturally on my shoulders as I faced them. I could see the conflict in their eyes, shame, disbelief, and a flicker of hope. The moment had arrived not for petty revenge, but for setting boundaries and offering them a choice: evolve, or remain spectators to the life I had built. I took a slow breath. You want a place here? I asked, letting my gaze sweep over each of them. This isn't about nostalgia, apologies, or old hierarchies. If you want to be part of this factory, part of my life, there are conditions. My father's eyebrows knitted together, a mixture of defiance and curiosity. Conditions? He asked, wary. Yes, I replied. Conditions rooted in respect, growth, and accountability. First, integrity. Every action you take here must honor the team, the process, and the vision. No shortcuts, no entitlement. If you can't commit to that, step aside. I turned to my former colleague. Second, humility. You will unlearn assumptions about who belongs in this field. You'll ask, listen, and learn, rather than assuming authority. A younger cousin, eager to reconnect, looked hopeful. What about me? You will pursue something meaningful with purpose, I said gently. No handouts, no excuses. I'll mentor you, but only if you demonstrate dedication and initiative. The rest of your life can't revolve around living in the shadow of others. You must build your own foundation. Every condition was deliberate. Every line, a bridge between past pain and future growth. I could see them processing, the slow recognition that this wasn't punishment, it was opportunity, guided by accountability. I added the final point, my voice softening slightly. Lastly, empathy. This factory, my team, and my vision thrive on collaboration. Toxic habits, dismissive attitudes, and resentment have no place here. If you can't embrace that, you'll watch from the sidelines. There was silence. Then, almost imperceptibly, heads nodded. I sensed the shift, the acknowledgement that respect and change were the only paths forward. They were no longer in control. I was. Yet the power I held was tempered with compassion, not vengeance. They could earn their place, or they could choose to walk away. I leaned against the polished desk, looking at the bronze gear in my hand, the small emblem of the journey that had brought me here. They might have taken my tools years ago, but the lessons, the resilience, and the vision were entirely mine. And now, as I outlined the terms, they would either rise to meet them or remain behind, in the shadows of what I had created. I had the upper hand, yes, but with that power came responsibility. And I was ready, as always, to wield both wisely. Weeks passed, and I watched subtle transformations take shape. My father approached me differently now, no longer with skepticism, but with genuine curiosity about the processes and systems I had built. He began asking questions, listening more than speaking, slowly learning the humility he had lacked. My former colleague, once dismissive and arrogant, started attending training sessions with an eagerness I hadn't anticipated. He listened to the younger employees, asked for feedback, and demonstrated that change was possible when pride gave way to effort. Even my cousin, initially hesitant, threw herself into her assigned project, fueled by the challenge and the mentorship I offered. She discovered a talent she hadn't realized she possessed, building her own confidence in a way that didn't depend on my past or my approval. As I walked the factory floor one evening, the bronze gear warm in my hand, I reflected on everything that had led me here, the stolen tools, the dismissive voices, the long nights when doubt threatened to overwhelm me. Every setback had been a teacher, every loss, a stepping stone toward the woman I had become. The factory hummed around me, alive with people who respected each other and the work we did. This place wasn't just a business, it was a testament to resilience, vision, and the quiet, persistent power of refusing to be diminished. I paused at my desk, looking out at the city skyline, feeling a profound sense of closure. The lessons of my grandmother, the small bronze gear she had given me, felt heavier with meaning now. It wasn't just a token. It was a reminder that true strength comes from within, and that what was taken from you could never eclipse what you could create. I picked up the gear, turning it over in my palm, and whispered to myself, they took my tools, but they never touched my hands. They never touched my mind. And now, I own it all. A quiet smile curved my lips. The past had shaped me, but it did not define me. I had built, endured, and triumphed. And now, at last, I could see the horizon clearly, ready for whatever came next, undaunted, independent, and wholly myself.